Hi, Jim here. Welcome to a new set of videos that I've been meaning to do for a long ass time. Very often people ask me, Jim, how do I emulate this or that console and make it look nice? What's the best emulator and settings to use? Have you got any money? Etc, etc. And usually I would just say, however, today I've decided not to be an asshole for once and detail what I use when I emulate consoles and PC. Now, PS1 emulation has been around since the console itself. In the early days, we had emulators such as Kinetic's Virtual Game Station and Bleem. These were semi-commercial entries into the emulation scene, with Bleem even having a small retail release on the Sega Dreamcast console with 3 separate entries. However, since the early 2000s, the standard in PS1 emulation has been EPSXE, a plugin based emulator for Windows and other formats that's just been fine until now. Fast forward to early 2020, and Duckstation was born. Developed by Connor McLaughlin, aka Stenzek, this newer PS1 emulator comes with a whole range of advanced features that will take your PS1 games to the next level, graphically and functionally. Duckstation, as of writing, has about 99% compatibility with all PS1 games from all regions. Personally, I have found nothing it won't play. So that takes care of the first question I'm always asked: what emulator do I use? Duckstation. But why? Well, Duckstation has a huge range of enhanced features such as texture warping correction, or PGXP, that literally takes the wonkiness out of PS1 games' textures and makes them look fully 3D accelerated as if you were playing something on the PC from the early 2000s. It also has features such as widescreen hacks to things like achievements, which are all built in. I'm going to show you how to set up and use Duckstation to get the most out of PS1 emulation. So the first thing you're going to want to do to get Duckstation is go to your browser, type up duckstation.org, go straight there and go straight to the GitHub. This is for Windows. If you're looking for an Android phone version, obviously choose one of the other two. GitHub for this one. Now his GitHub's a bit confusing here. But you go down here and you go down to the latest builds for Windows and Linux, click that. Then you scroll all the way down to Windows x64. There is no x86 version of Duckstation, so if you don't have a 64-bit operating system, you're kind of out of luck, but you should do now. This is the year 2022, so yeah, you definitely should do. Just click the 64 release link. Don't worry about the symbols version, just click that one. It will download. Shouldn't take very long. When it's downloaded, you can open it, and literally you can just go to your desktop over here. So here's the zip file. Go to your desktop here, just make a new folder. Duckstation. Click that. Drag them all there. Now it's unzipped. Get rid of that. And that is everything you need outside of a BIOS, which I got previously, but I'm not going to tell you where to get those, but you can definitely search it up. I'm just going to make a new folder in here called BIOS. It doesn't matter where it is or what it's called, chuck it in there. So my BIOS I'm using is scph1001.bin. You can literally just Google that exact phrasing and you'll find it. It's fine. Or you can repeat yourself from your actual PlayStation 1, which is what you're meant to do. So now you get your BIOS, so you've got everything you need for Duckstation. So the next thing is I'm going to open up Duckstation, we're going to run through the settings, and then we're going to throw a game at it, and I'm going to show you how it works. So we've got Duckstation all set up and ready to go with the BIOS. You're going to obviously need a game as well. So the best thing to do is if you've got an external CD drive, just pop in your PlayStation 1 games and rip them using image burn. I'll put links down below for all the stuff I mentioned as well, in case you don't know what that is. And once you have the game, you can literally just, you can make a new folder anywhere you like, but I'm going to make a folder here, just called games. I'm going to drag my .bin and q for the game. Depending on how you ripped it, you may not have a bin and q, you might have a PBP, or you might have a .img or .iso. It all doesn't really matter. Duckstation runs them all. You could even have a .chd. You can convert them into a smaller file. I'm not going to cover that in this video, maybe another video, but yeah. So you've got your game, and you can open up Duckstation. Now you have two .exe files right here for Duckstation. What are they? One is a no GUI, which basically means it looks more like a Windows app. So if I open that up, it looks more like an in-game app, and it's set up for controller support is native. Now this is the version that I use because I like the way it looks. However, you can use this version here, which just looks like a plain old Windows app. So it's brought up a whole bunch of compatibility with different games, what have you. So the version I like to use is this release, this no GUI candidate here. So let's open Duckstation and have a look at how it runs the game without changing any settings at all. So you want to make it full screen. You can run it in Windows, obviously, as well. Doesn't matter. Once you're in there, it should auto-detect what controller you've got. At the moment, I'm using an Xbox Series controller. It won't matter. PlayStation 4 controller should just work as well. If not, you can go to settings and go across to the controls and just load a profile. There's a whole bunch of profiles for different controllers in here, but it's loaded the profile already determined what's working. But just to be sure, I'm going to load my profile. I'm going to go down to Xbox controller, and you'll see it's changed all these buttons down here to correlate to the Xbox controls, which is fine. The one thing you may want to do straight away though is it already mapped the analog button to the Xbox X button. So there you go, it was automatic. So the first thing you'll notice is that there's nothing here. So if you go to open games list, it doesn't have one. There's no games in the list. Just go back, and you'll need to tell it where your games are. So you go to settings, you go across to this one here, which is the games list settings, and you go add search directory, and it's going to open its own directory, but there's nothing in here. This is where you put your games, then whatever. But mine are all on the desktop in the folder at the moment that I've got. So desktop, Duckstation, and I've got games. And you just go use this directory. Bang, done. So now if I go back and I go open games list, look, my game is there. And it's got a little bit of info about the game. It doesn't download a screenshot or anything like that automatically. You can do that. You can download the box shot of the game and have it there displayed as art if that's something you wish to do. I don't really do that, considering it takes up a lot of time. However, you can do that. And it's fairly easy to do. However, we'll just run the game and see how it plays standard without changing any settings. The BIOS image found. Okay, cool. I'm glad it brought that up. So you will have to set your BIOS as well, obviously. So yeah, you're going to want to set your BIOS. So you go over to the BIOS settings option, which is this little chip icon at the top here. And you'll notice you can set a BIOS for each region. I don't bother doing that most of the time. I just set the BIOS directory. So I'll go here again, and it's going to want to use this internal one. However, I don't use that directory. I use the one on the desktop at the moment. So let's go and set that. BIOS, and then use that directory. Now it should if I open up games list and click bloody raw, hopefully it should just play. I don't know how loud this is going to be. Quite loud. So as you'll see, the game will just work now that you have a BIOS. But it's going to look pretty standard. It's going to be not widescreen. It's going to be low resolution. It's probably going to have some sort of screen tearing. But it works. So we'll get in the game and we'll see how it works. Yep, Bloody Roar 2. Super awesome game if you haven't played it before. But we're only doing it for test reasons, so let's go into it. So it's probably going to look how you remember it on the PS1. So it's going to look okay, but, you know, playable, serviceable, whatever. But rough around the edges. As you can see, it runs fine though already. Don't have to do anything to it if you don't want to, because it runs perfectly fine. and you can switch to analog mode if you want to with the middle button like that. However, we want it to look way better than that. So let's go and mess with the settings to make it look like a more of a modern game, and then we'll come back to it. So you've pressed escape and you've gotten back to the Duckstation menu here. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to head into the settings, and you're going to want to enable fast boot if you want to skip the PlayStation BIOS animation every time. Unless you like seeing it, then that's fine with you. You can just leave it. I prefer to just skip it, get right to the game. You're going to want to, I think we don't have to do anything else. We can change emulation speed and all that sort of stuff. I don't think we don't need to mess with that right now. Read speed for CD-ROM. We can just leave it at double speed, or you can speed it up, and sometimes loading in games will improve like greatly. However, it does break some games, so I just leave it because it doesn't really matter to me. But the worst thing you want here is this little enhancement settings option here. So the first thing to change is internal resolution scale. I'm going to pop it up to 1080p since that's what I'm recording in. That's what my monitor is. You can go all the way up to, I think it's like above 8K. You can go like, yeah, I think you can go to 8K actually, or more. But yeah, you don't really need to because it's pretty much diminished returns at that point. 4K looks really nice on a 4K monitor, obviously, and I'm doing a 1080p monitor right now, so 5 is what I'm going to be using. Nearest neighbor, you can change the texture filtering to nearest neighbor, or from nearest neighbor to anything else. I prefer the Balenier, so we'll go with that. True color rendering, I leave that off. It can be good in some cases, but in most cases it's not great. Scale dithering, yep, leave that on. Now, widescreen hack for some games is fantastic. Some other games, it doesn't work so well. I happen to know that for Bloody Raw, it works pretty well, so I'm going to put that on. I'm going to go down to... I'm going to leave everything else, because everything else doesn't need to be touched. This is where it gets interesting. So PGXP geometry correction reduces wobbly polygons by attempting to preserve the factorial component through memory transfer. So basically what that does is it takes the PlayStation 1 wobbling textures that we're all so familiar with and smooths it out. It makes it more look like a early 2000s PC game. So you turn that on, which will turn on a bunch of other settings. I just leave these as standard. So you want the texture correction, the coloring correction, geometry correction on. The rest off. Unless the game doesn't work with it, then you can mess with these settings here. And I always leave the CPU one off because there's no reason to have that one on. These two here can vary between games. Most games are absolutely fine with these three. The only game that I've found that doesn't really work with these three, that needs these two on as well, is 007 Tomorrow Never Dies. Otherwise, he has like see-through geometry and it doesn't really work. But everything else, I leave it just as 3. That's pretty much all you need to change in the way to make the game look better. And if we now go and boot the game, you'll see that it compiles the new shaders, because it's got to do all that. But it continues from where we were. And the game looks 1,000 times better. However, it's not doing the widescreen. So that's an option. We'll have to figure out why it's not doing the widescreen. So settings, blah, 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 blah. Widescreen hack is on. I think it's because we've got it set to aspect ratio here, auto game native. Yeah, so we want to change to the widescreen, so 16:9. On my monitor, you can go ultra wide, you can do all sorts of stuff, but 16:9, sorry. Yeah, I forgot to set that setting, but this is why we're here. So that setting there should be fine. Now, if we go back to the game, you'll see it's actually in widescreen. If I wasn't terrible at the game, it would be a lot faster than this. There we go. So as you can see, the game's actually working in widescreen. It's working with texture correction. There should be no wobbly textures. There is a bit of screen tearing. That's another option we can set, which we should set. It should be in here as well, actually, under display settings. No, internal red screen. Should be enable VSync. There we go. VSync. Enable that as well. Most of the time, you're going to want to enable that. Sometimes it adds a little bit of input lag, but I haven't really noticed anything with any game. There we go. Now we're not getting any screen tearing. and the game looks fantastic. So now it doesn't even look like a PlayStation 1 game. It looks like a PC game from the early 2000s, which is fantastic. It should work for most of the menu stuff as well. It shouldn't really... Yeah, it just stretches the non-widescreen aspects to the screen, which is fine, because inside the game, it runs in proper widescreen with the texture corrections and the upscaling and all that. And it looks absolutely fantastic. I don't know why you would want to play this in any other way now. Except if you're playing it on real hardware, on a CRT, you're not going to get it to look any better anywhere else. Anyway, it's enough of that game. There is one more thing we can add to this to make it pretty cool, and that's retro achievements. So if you're used to playing any of the modern consoles, you know that games have achievements these days. Say you beat this guy 5 times or whatever, and you unlock a little achievement. You can do that with the PS1 games as well, and Duckstation allows that, and I'll show you how to set that up. So we've exited Duckstation, and we want to go and set up retro achievements. Now to do that, you want to open up your browser, and you want to head to retro achievements. I want to find their website. It's just retroachievements.org. I wasn't sure if it was an org or .com, but it's .org. And you want to make yourself a login. Now, I already have one, so we're going to skip that part, or at least black it out. And then once you're logged in, that's all you need to do. You just have to have your login. So you have to know your login and name. Yeah, I use Cognizant. That's what I used to go by. If you search me up, you'll find that anyway. But that's my name on Retro Achievements. And then you can literally just look at games by system. And if you want to have a sticky bick around this site, you don't need to do anything else on this website. You can just look at the sort of achievements that are available. So if we look at Bloody Raw 2, here we go, which is the game we're testing, obviously. There are a whole bunch of achievements here. Have I got any of these achievements? No, I haven't unlocked any of them. They would be in color, and also I would have a percentage here of what I've got. So 0% complete Bloody Raw for my account. Now, if you want to set that up in Duckstation, just leave the website now that you've got a login, an account. So to set it up in Duckstation, you just open up Duckstation. You just go to settings. I'm going to do this in... I should have gone back to there and gone full screen. My bad. We'll set it up in Duckstation itself. So we go to settings, and you go all the way over to the little trophy icon at the top and enable retro achievements. Bang. And it's going to say rich presence. When enabled, rich presence information will be collected and sent to the server where supported. Yeah, you want to do that just so that retro achievements can fix any bugs and stuff that come up. Test mode, leave it off. Test unofficial achievements, leave that off. Use first disk from playlist, yes, because if you're playing a multi-disc game that's compiled into one file, it's going to want to read the name of the first disk. Even if you are playing the second disk at the time, it's still going to want to read that. Hardcore mode, leave that off. So you want to log in. So I'm going to go ahead and log in, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. Cool. Now that you've gone ahead and logged in to Retro Achievements, whenever you start a game from scratch, it's going to load up the achievements. So if I want to start a game, I'm not sure if it'll do it if it resumes the game, but it might. It might. Loading state. I don't want to load the state. Yeah, downloading achievement resources. And it should tell you how many achievements there are. You've earned 0 out of 58 achievements. So I'm not sure what I have to do to get an achievement in this game, but we can check them, I believe, by going to achievements. You click on achievements here. There you go. Unlocked achievements. So complete Yugo's story, complete Alice's story, all their stories. Difficulty 4+. Okay, so you got to leave it on the max difficulty for that. Let's go down, see if there's anything I can unlock right now. I don't think so. It's, yeah, you don't change characters, all that sort of stuff. It tells you what you need to get, but that's how you get achievements in your retro games. So hopefully that's something exciting for you to do, and something new. And it works for most games, and if the game isn't supported, retro achievements, always updating the games list. So yeah, it adds to the game, and as you play, it pops up that you've unlocked it, and it just really adds to the whole experience of PlayStation 1 games nowadays, especially if you're using the widescreen and the PXGP texture correction, all that sort of stuff. So now that you've set up that, you've got everything you need to run PlayStation 1 games in widescreen, in high resolution, with the texture correction and retro achievements. So that's pretty much going to be the end of the video. I really hope that you've enjoyed setting this up. These settings will work for every game as well. Obviously, if a game doesn't like widescreen, you can just turn that off. Simple as that. And you'll be playing it in non-widescreen. But you'll still have the high resolution, the texture correction, the achievements, all that stuff. So I really hope that was something that you wanted to know. And yeah, happy playing. And if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Give me a subscribe if you're not subscribed. For more of this stuff, I've got heaps planned. So I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye for now.